What is up, everybody? This is RybackStun. We have returned to Marvel Heroes. We are on the test center once again, and we are checking out Marvel Heroes' brand new champion, Psylocke. Champion hero, whatever you want to call it. Sorry, I'm stuck to my League of Legends guides that I used to do. Anyway, Psylocke is actually pretty cool. She is a mental, physical, melee ranged character. What? Everything will become clear to you in just a moment. First things first, though, we want to check what her synergy is. And her synergy is 3% mental damage and 3% physical damage. So, it's like Phoenix, where she's got mental and energy. And it's useful, non-useful, depending on how you want to do it. If you're going to go pure hybrid build, mental, physical, you're perfect with this. But for some of us who are going to go only physical, or for me personally, I'm only going to go mental only, the 3% helps, but then you're also losing out on the 3% physical damage. So, but it's something to balance it out. It could have been 2 and 2, which would have sucked, but at least it's 3 and 3, so we can get close enough to what we want to be for the champion we want to play. Which also, I believe, that will be helpful for Ghost Rider because he's also mental physical. But Psylocke is your typical dodge-based, melee-ranged, mental, physical character. And when I say typical, I mean not typical at all. Look at how many powers she has on her tree. Holy crap. We're going to go one tree at a time. We're going to go one power at a time. Bing, bang, boom. Let's go. First power on the Psionic Constructs tree is Psystrike. Does mental damage for 3 hits, and you get, it's like Triple Strike, where you get more damage based upon how many hits you do. You have a 250 Psi cost, and it has 1 attack speed. Now, Psi energy cost, at this little bar down here, you have 1,000 of it, and it's regenerated over time when you hit with a ninja, assassin, or telepathy power that doesn't cost psionic energy. And psionic energy is spent on psionic construct powers, which is everything, not everything, but 4 powers in this tree. So you've got your Psystrike. Your next one is Crossbow Construct, where she manifests a crossbow, shoots one, and boom. So it's got a pretty decent attack speed, 200 Psi cost. It does 40% damage to elites and bosses, so I'm not a fan of those types of powers. I've said it in a couple videos, but I'm going to continue saying it just because a lot of them aren't really worth up to snuff, and they're not worth the points cost for the scaling and how 40% extra damage works, and really the fact that it kind of doesn't. But anyway, Tsunami Slash is your melee area attack. You get an additional crit rating for the power. It does a significant amount of mental damage. It has stun duration. It's 1.5 attack speed, and it's 300 Psi cost. Your basic mental melee damage attack is Psy Knife here. You do mental damage, you generate Psi per hit, and you have a certain amount of attack speed with it. This is going to be the basic for the mental builds, for the melee mental builds, because it's a basic number 1, but number 2, it is your mental damage attack. You also have Psi Thrust here, which is your lunge. You also have a lunge over here, Ninja Assassin, but you have one here that's specifically for the Psionic Construct. You do physical damage with the attack, so you're not going to get as much damage. You'll get that 3%, but the only other thing you'll get off of it is melee. You won't get any mental damage acuity for it. But when you hit an enemy with that attack, your next attack generates an additional 6.18 Psi energy, but it can't trigger from lunge, which I assume is this. I'm not entirely sure why it says lunge. I'm almost sure it's going to be Psi Thrust that it can't trigger off of. It's also got a stun duration, 9.1 spirit cost. Notice how this is the first power in this tree that costs spirit. Then we have Psionic Bow, which is a charge attack. It does a nice amount of damage, but it has a 500 energy Psi cost, so you can't just spam it like you can some of the other charge attacks. So there's your Psionic Constructs tree. Your Ninja Assassin tree has the most... Oh, sorry, one more power on Psionic Constructs. You have your passive Telekinetic Prowess, which increases your psionic energy generation by 3% up to 60% at rank 20, obviously higher at higher points. You do a mental bleed, basically, for 6 seconds when you hit with a Psionic Construct power. You also have mental damage rating plus 300, which scales, for 8 seconds when you hit with a Psystrike or a Tsunami Slash. And then your range damage rating for 300 for 8 seconds when you hit with Psionic Bow or Crossbow Construct. So you get range with ranged attacks and melee with melee attacks. Those could have been Khonshu's and reverse Khonshu effects, but I really like the way that they built those there. Ninja Assassin, your first basic is Ninjutsu Strike. 50% base damage when you use a stealth power. It does base damage. This also generates Psi power. It generates an additional Psi power, though, because of the fact that this generates a certain amount per hit, and this generates it passively. You also have your Shadow Dash, which deals physical damage, and Shadow damage, which I've never seen before. Has a knockdown duration. It's your basic dash that you're going to be using up until you get to Psylunge. Also, Spirit Cost. You have Falling Lotus Strike, which you twirl through the air and drop a bleed onto an opponent. Also has a Spirit Cost. All the rest of the power should have Spirit Costs if they're not basics. The only things that don't here are the actual ones that cost Psy energy, which is nice. You have your passive Deadly Assassin, crit rating, crit damage, and defense power. Defense rating for 8 seconds when you hit with a melee power. In my personal opinion, because of the way it scales, it's not worth maxing. Just take 1 point into it and allow it to scale through power points and other abilities. Because it only goes up to, I think, 450 at rank 20. Somewhere around that area, so it barely even doubles. It actually doesn't even do that, but there's that. You also have, I'm going to butcher this, and I apologize to anybody who actually knows how this is pronounced and is offended by it. Kirisut Gomen. And it's lightning fast blows with your katana. It deals 2 hits of physical damage, and the base damage is increased for 6 seconds when you use it out of a stealth power. So it has a nice, decent attack speed, Spirit Cost. You also have your Shadow Step, which is stealth. Stealth duration is 3 seconds.
I'd kill for a cup of tea right now.
Which scales. Sorry, Psylocke. And you're immune to crowd control with stealth, which is cool. Cooldown is 15 seconds. That's technically your CC break. Which, again, is another one that's worthwhile using because it does something other than just a CC break every 15 seconds. You also have Psionic Projection, which is a stealth movement power. It gives you stealth for 1.5 seconds, but it also creates a duplicate that does actually attack. I noticed it do it. It could just be a feign, but I'm pretty sure it actually did attack. 6 second duration, 9.7 Spirit Cost, 4 second cooldown. You also got Katana Typhoon. Do I have that bound? Yes, I do. Shadow damage, physical damage, and activating this power does not break stealth. And then you have the last power here, which is called Assassinate. You dash the enemy, thrust your blade through their back, and quickly dispatch them. Can only be activated while stealthed, and then you do physical damage and has a stun duration. Now your last tree is Telepathy. This is your mental ranged. Your first attack is called Psionic Assault, which it's mental damage twice per second. It also has a slow and a weaken, and the debuff duration is 6 seconds. You have your Psybolt, which is your ranged basic mental attack. You restore 2 spirit per hit, which is also pretty good. You also have Psionic Resilience, which allows you to see enemies on the minimap. You get a defense bonus at double on defense rating. You get dodge rating, and you and your allies regenerate 70 health over 3 seconds when you hit with a mental power. Obviously, this scales. You also have Psionic Vortex, which is your vulnerability attack. Mental damage with ranged area attack. Vulnerability, attack speed, spirit cost, yada yada blah blah. You have Psy Crush, which you crust enemies with a sudden blast of Psionic Fury, which does more damage to slowed and weakened enemies. Low spirit cost, medium-ish mental damage. You have your Ethereal Butterflies, which is your signature. Mental damage per butterflies. You get 25 butterflies created. Spirit cost is medium, kind of heavy actually. 25% cooldown, 25-second cooldown, and you only gain damage per butterfly. You do not gain more butterflies with the more points that you have in it. And then last but not least, we have Psycho Blast here, which it releases a blast of psionic energy. Enemies who are both vulnerable and weakened receive 50% extra damage, are knocked back, and are stunned for 1.5 seconds. So if you drop a Psionic Assault, a Psionic Vortex, and then a Psycho Blast in that succession, you'll do an extra ton of damage. And then you drop a Psy Crush on them. There you go. So, and then you have your ultimate, which is Psionic Maelstrom. Summon a dazzling kaleidoscope of psionic butterflies with you as you center point of the flight paths. Enemies caught in the swarm are quickly cut down by overwhelming and deadly psionic energy. Lots of mental damage per second. It's a slow. It's got a 10-minute cooldown, but it also gives you 200 psi energy per second and a damage rating of 960, and the buff duration is 20 seconds, so that's pretty cool. And that will allow you to use your Psionic Constructs abilities pretty well. So let's go ahead and show you how all these powers work. We're going to start with Psionic Constructs. Here's your basic. Slice, slice, slice. Next, you have your Triple Strike ability. Boom. Then you have your Tsunami Slash, which actually has a pretty good range component to it. And notice how I'm down to 450 Psi energy. I need to rebuild that up a little bit.
Painful. Because
the next ones cost a tad bit more than the first ones do. So here is your crossbow, boom, and now your bow. Charge, bam, and there you go. Next is your ninjutsu powers. Here's your basic attack. Pretty decent. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to show you the Psionic Lunge. So there's that, boom. and you generate a little bit of extra power. Boom. More than you normally would, so you can try and weave this in and out of your attacks. Back to these. Here we have the Falling Lotus Strike. Boom. And I think, yep, you can use it to lunge to different areas. And notice how it's costing Spirit. Then you also have your Goman attack, which is pretty good, and you can hold it to do extra damage. I'm not going to do Stealth just yet, but I am going to do this, which is your one of these things. And it actually does do the damage. Oh, it only activates the Katana Typhoon. It doesn't activate any other power. Okay, that's cool. So you do have your Katana Typhoon, which does not make stealth. Remember that when you want to try to use those types of things. And now we're going to stealth with Shadow Step. And then we're going to assassinate that guy for 22,100 damage. And then your regular actual lunge, which it's resisting the shadow damage. So obviously it has some kind of other component to it that I haven't figured out yet. Sorry. Then we'll do the telepathy things. So here's your Sonic Bolt. Look at how beautiful it is on the face there. Hold on, let's see if we can get... Hang on. Sorry, it's kind of hard when I'm zoomed in. Notice how she's got the psychic butterfly thing going. That's pretty darn cool. Alright, so now we have Psycrush. We have Sonic Vortex. And then we have Psychoblast. So if I go A, S, F, boom. Extra damage going on, and now they're all slowed. And then I also have this thing. Boom.
I know that hurt.
Which is probably what I needed to do in the first place. Yeah, Psycrush is the other thing. So we go that, right click, and then boom, extra damage. And it resists because it can't be knocked down. But there's that. And now we have the... It's got a 25-second cooldown. I wish I would have used it first. I don't want to sit here and waste your time for 25 seconds to do this, but we'll go ahead and do that. Ah, it does. So if you click on somebody, all the butterflies go to that one character. But if you were to do it in the middle of nowhere, it would spread across to everybody in the area. So actually, I'm going to wait the extra 12 seconds to show you guys that. Psylocke seems to be a pretty fun character. I do have all of her uniques recorded down. Check out the description below for a link to that image that has all the uniques there. Obviously, the uniques that are in those pictures are not perfect rolls, but you can judge where you're going to go from there with those powers. And butterflies, again, notice how they go in different directions. So it's like any of those other quote-unquote random powers. If you target somebody, it hits all of them. If you don't, then boom. Boom. Alright, and now, the thing everybody's been waiting for. Nice. And it dominates. And you can go flop, flop, flop. Just use as many psionic powers as you want, because you're gaining 200 per second and all that other lovely stuff. And just butterflies. Butterflies everywhere. And they're taking a pretty significant chunk of damage. It's 23,000 per tick, which is definitely impressive there. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to be taking. But that is Psylocke's powers. That are Psylocke's powers, excuse me. So, I want to retcon really quick. What I figured out for myself as a personal build, because I wanted a mental melee character. Black Panther's your energy melee. That's kind of why I want to play him, because he's different. You've got so many physical dodge characters. You've got Taskmaster, you've got Nightcrawler, you've got Spider-Man. Black Panther has that build. Wolverine's got that build. Who else is here? Luke Cage is partially dodge-based. Black Widow has a dodge build, dodge melee build. Daredevil and Deadpool are melee dodge builds. You can build Hawkeye melee. I don't know why you would, but you could. Squirrel Girl is dodge-based melee. Thing is defense, which is good. Gambit is dodge-based melee. Moon Knight is kind of both. He has the dodge and the defense to take care of it. So that's that kind of thing. I wanted a mental melee power, though. So the way that I think I'm going to build my character, and this is, I haven't tested this out fully. I'm going to try and test it out a little bit afterwards. But I'm definitely putting 20 points in Psy Strike, 20 points in Tsunami Slash, 20 points in Psy Knife, 20 points in Telekinetic Prowess, because the extra damage you get from the stuff and the psionic energy generation is really important. 20 points in psionic resistance, so I can get a nice big chunk of dodge, so I don't really have to worry about it in many other sources. And then, at this point, I'm doing 1-pointers. I've got 19 points left. If you have the full things, you're going to have 130 points. You're going to be able to max out 6 skills. I'm putting 1 point in Psionic Vortex. I'm probably going to end up putting, I want 1 point in the Psi Thrust. 1 point in Deadly Assassin. And just confirm.
So many tricks, so little time.
Confirm all this so I can do my abilities here. We're going to have this here, that there, that there, that there. Probably 1 point in Ethereal Butterflies.
Will be interesting.
And I still have, at this point, because it's 12, 17, 12 plus 15 is 27. So I have 19 points to max out another power, which may end up being the Ethereal Butterflies or the Psionic Vortex. Haven't decided yet. Maybe the Vortex? Not, again, don't really know. But I could also go a couple points into a bunch of other things. I can go a point into Shadow Step, some points into Psionic Projection to try and get that extra damage out with that thing to defend against enemies. I could roll Psycho Blast if I wanted to, but I think what I'll end up doing is putting the extra points into one of these abilities here, the Psionic Vortex or the Ethereal Butterflies, or I could actually do both. The idea of the Psionic Vortex is specifically for the vulnerability, which helps, and all of that other lovely stuff. But this right here is the basis of my build. Beyond that, it's whatever I get provided from other stuff. I don't need Deadly Assassin maxed out because if you look at it, it's 264 at rank 1. At rank 16, it's 417. It's not great. So, but you get 2,000 mental damage twice per second with this thing. You get 60% generation on that. You get 537 melee damage when you activate Side Strike or Tsunami Slash. Here you've got 2,376 dodge rating. That puts you at, without any synergies or any other things, that puts you at 22%. With the extra 17% you get from the Taskmaster and Spider-Man synergies and 4 Fandral Blessings, that puts you at 39%. You don't need dodge from any other source whatsoever. You could have it there. I've got a bunch of stuff down here set up ready to go. I do have these things here for the boss thing, but what I'm probably going to end up doing is using not the advanced Meta Sensory Ray. I'm probably going to end up using the advanced Amulet of Agamotto, but definitely an advanced Wicked Wand of Watum. Advanced Super Soldier so I can get a little bit of extra spirit, but also the health and the health regen. A Blessed Advanced Kung Fu for extra health and the damage of melee power, also the defense. Using Storm Giant Magi with a mental damage Uru. I want the extra mental damage. I want to be able to grow to the size of a Storm Giant, and I want that extra 40 spirit. And I am definitely going to use a Hood Medallion. And the reason why is that there's no other medallion that gives you as much mental damage. I don't even think Wizard gives you as much as the Hood does. I could be wrong, though. But I also get an extra chance to do dodge, and I create flames around myself when I do that kind of stuff. And I'll end up using this Cosmic Ring, which gives me damage of melee powers, some health, Brute Strike, and Brute Damage. Now, because I don't have all of her uniques, I can't specifically show you on her character sheet what does what, but I'll probably end up using, bare minimum, the slot 5 and the slot 2. Which, again, check the description so you can see what's up, and you'll have all that stuff there. But let's look at the mental damages I've got right now.
I needed time to focus, but not this much time.
I get 24%, which stacks additively with rating. I don't have any extra increased base damage, but when I equip a bunch of my stuff, I will. I already have 384 crit, which gives me 9.5%. That's probably what I'll end up having to build for, is crit in and of itself. Speaking of crits, legendaries. Let's go real quick and check out legendaries. I think Taskmaster's definitely got it, so let's go with Taskmaster. Maybe that's what I need to do. I need to buy a Gungnir.
I'm not a hero. I'm just really good at my job.
Yep, there you go. Odin's Palace. I have Odin Mark saved up so that way I can purchase a legendary for my character. And this is another one of those discussions where you're going to be like, what should I use? Not necessarily what am I going to use. Psylocke, switch back to her. I was considering using Excalibur.
Yes, tally-ho and all that.
Which is kind of funny because she's part of Excalibur. So here we go. Let's look at some of these really quick together. Excalibur is going to give us 500 crit rating straight up, 1,000 damage rating with melee powers, 1,000 defense, and I regenerate 200 health when I hit. Gungnir's only going to give me 800 crit rating and 1,000 crit damage rating. And then Warlock's Eye will give me 500 damage rating, 1,000 damage rating on mental attacks, 50 spirit, and 500 crit rating on mental attacks. Interesting. So the question is, do I want the defense and the health from Excalibur, or do I want the spirit and mental stuff instead of just melee? I think I might go with Excalibur as just kind of a flavor taste for it anyway, because she's, you know, she's Psylocke. You want to get as much good flavor out of her as possible. And that gives me 500 crit rating, which right now I'm at 384. You're obviously going to have crit rating from a bunch of your stuff, whether you get cosmics or other things. I mean, if you look at... None of this has crit on it. Of course it doesn't. Okay, so none of that has crit. I could put crit on my costume. I can get a nice chunk of crit rating from that, which is something I might have to do anyway, just so that I can get her up to the 40%. I get 400 from the Fandral Blessings, which is all good there. Let's just equip this stuff really quick. Yes. Yes. I may have to switch out from Bullseye to, or from Hood to Bullseye. What does that put me? That puts me at 825 right now, which is 18.4%. And I have 305 here from the Deadly Assassin. So I need crit from other sources, kind of badly. I can get crit from Intelligence, which I'll have... I believe that's supposed to be 0.5% per level, so that's 2% right there. 6 energy right now with no other boosts whatsoever. That's kind of cool. Yes, yes, Wolverine, I get you. Maybe I'll switch out the Advanced Kung Fu for something that gives me crit. Maybe the Hand of Doom, if I could ever find one of those. And I may switch out the Advanced Super Soldier for a Ziggurat right off the bat. But I like the fact that I can have the Wicked Wand of Watum, which gives me invulnerability when I defeat an enemy, possibly extra damage rating and damage rating on mental attacks. And then the Agamotto gives me damage rating, mental damage rating, and then attack speed. So, but that's enough talk for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did, showcasing you the character. I'm going to be playing Psylocke a lot over the next couple weeks. I've got a bunch of stuff sitting there waiting for her, ready to go. And hopefully I can get a little bit more and possibly put together a pretty good character to end up having as a main. I don't see her overtaking Taskmaster because I love Taskmaster and his survivability is crazy. But I can see Psylocke becoming a second main for me. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. Remember to like and comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Tumblr at RybackStun. More videos as they come along. Check the description for the unique things. Make sure to like all my stuff on Reddit and the Marvel Heroes forums, all that other lovely stuff. And with that, this is RybackStun, signing out.